Hi guys, welcome to Python or learning Python for data science. In this series, we're going to be talking about conditional statements. Now, if this is your first time watching this video, you can also check other videos in the playlists as we have been coming down from the very basics of learning Python, and the whole idea is to learn Python for data science. Now, today we're going to be talking about conditional statements, and it's important that we think about conditional statements with respect to how we make decisions in life. Sometimes we try to ask ourselves questions if certain things are true or if certain things are false. And the way we sort these things are done using conditional statements. Now in Python, this is often called control flow, right? So where you get to ask questions, and if it is true, then we go ahead. If it is false, we probably skip or we do something else. Now, to do control flow in Python, we are going to introduce three statements. We're going to introduce the if statement. We're going to introduce the elif statement, and we're going to introduce the else statement. Now, you can work with control flow can happen, right, using this. However, we want to look at certain things that make control flow really, really incredible and make it possible for us to work with this. We're going to be talking about something really important called comparison operators. So we're going to be talking about a lot of operators here. But before we get into the if, elif, and else statements, let us look at these operators. Right, they're called comparison operators. And so I'm just going to make them bold. Exactly. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about in these operators is I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to talk about the rules guiding these operators. Now, the first operator we are going to be talking about looks just like this. And it is called the greater than operator. So that's greater than. Right. Now, the greater than operator has a rule, right? Which means so it is true, so it evaluates as true if the values, or rather the value on the left is greater than the value on the right. So that's what it is. Now, and we're going to look at how this makes some sense. Right, now the first thing we're going to do, just to make sense, is that we're going to create a variable, and we're going to call this variable, let's call this variable a number. Right, let's call this num. I'm call this num_1. Right, and num_1, I am going to call this, I'm going to have this as 12. Then right underneath, I'm going to have num_2, and this is going to be, let's make this 9. Right, now for us to work with this, so I'm going to run this, so we have this in memory. And so this is where this comes into perspective. Remember what the greater than rule is. It is true if the value on the left is greater than the value on the right. So here we say num1, and we know what num1 is, right? If you look over here, it's 12. And we put the greater than symbol, and then we put num2, which of course we know is 9. Now, it is true if the value on the left is greater than the value on the right. So this means this will evaluate as true. So that's one rule, right? So should we call this rule 1? So that's just it. So we have this first rule. Now we're going to move to a second rule. So what you're going to see in these videos going forward is that we're going to see all those rules, and then we'll be taking them one step at a time before we get to the whole idea of conditional statements. And it's important that you take it one step at a time. Right, the next rule we're going to be looking at, or rather operator we're going to be looking at, is the less than operator. So that's what it is. Again, which is, now this time, it is true if the value on the left is less than the value on the right. So right now, this is going to be different now. So you can see that we know that num2 is 9 and num1 is 12. So what we're going to have here is that if I say num2, which you know is 9, is less than num1. So it's going to be true because we know that the value on the left is less than the value over here. So you see, boom, it's true. Right, so you see, that's why it's true. If you flip it the other way around, it's going to be false. So again, just so we know, if I say num1 is less than num2, it's going to be false because 9 isn't greater than 12. Right, so one more rule we're going to look at this, or one more operator. I keep calling it a rule. One more is we'll call this the equal to, right? So this is this. You see, it's a double equal sign, and it's called the equal to operator. Right. Now, you may hear some people call this the equality operator, and that's all right. So this, it is true. So which is, it evaluates as true only when both values, only when both values, that is both values, put a bracket here, left and right are equal. Ideal. So it's always ideal for us to document, right? So now what that means, if I create num underscore 3 equals to, so I assign it like it's equal to, I assign it to 10, and of course I put num underscore 4, which is also 10. So I assign the variable. So they're equal, right? Now, so that means if I use this and say num3 equal to, or the equality operator, and we check out num4, and that's going to be equal. So you see, it's true. That's how it works. Now, if we try to use num1, right? Which of course we do that. Num1, if you come over here, is 12, and then we say num4, which of course we know is 10, it's going to be false. So yeah, so this is just the first part of our conditional statements, where we are trying to understand control flow, you know, and control flow has to do with if, elif, and else statements. But to make greater sense of it, we have to look at comparison operators, and comparison operators has a bunch of operators that have rules with them. So right now we've talked about greater than, less than, and equality. So we've talked about it, equal to, and see how it works. Now in the next video we're going to look at other ones, right? So stick with me while we head to the next video.